Have you ever had that persistent, silent feeling that you are wasting your life? No matter how hard you try to keep yourself busy, surrounded by people, goals, and obligations, deep down, you feel that something essential is missing, as if you were merely existing, not truly living. Perhaps you have tried to call it anxiety. Perhaps a doctor has defined it as depression, prescribing something to silence that discomfort. A pill in the morning, another at night, and time goes by, numbing what you should be urgently listening to. What if I told you that this suffering is not a mistake? What if it weren't something to be suppressed, but a calling? Carl Jung, one of the greatest names in depth psychology, believed that what we call a mental disorder is often not a pathology, but an attempt by the psyche to heal itself. A warning that your life as it is no longer serves your soul. Perhaps you are living a routine that was imposed on you, with a job that consumes you and relationships that drain your energy, chasing dreams that are not even yours. Meanwhile, your essence screams for freedom, but no one has taught you to listen to that scream. On the contrary, they taught you to silence it, to function, to adapt, to not disturb. And so you get sick in silence, while the world applauds your productivity. For Jung, healing does not come from denial, but from immersion. It is not about masking the symptoms, but understanding what they are trying to say. Because as he said, neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. In other words, you are sick because you are fleeing from the pain you need to feel to transform your life. And as long as you keep running, you will keep suffering. This video is for those who are tired of pretending, for those who feel they are sinking but still hold a spark of hope. A way out exists, but it begins with a brutal decision: to stop running and start listening. Listening to yourself, to the unconscious, to that pain you have tried to silence. If you have made it this far, perhaps you have already understood that the emptiness you feel is not weakness. It is the absence of yourself in your own life, and it is time to change that. The system is not interested in your soul, but in your functionality. The logic is simple. You must keep working, consuming, producing. Medication allows you to endure the unbearable, and that is why it is offered as a definitive solution. But it is a trap. Jung believed that modern neuroses do not arise from a failure of the brain, but from the disconnection between the life we lead and the one we should be living. When you ignore your vocation, your most authentic impulses, the soul begins to sicken. And since it has no literal voice, it speaks through the body and mind. Anxiety, panic, despair. The anxiety you feel is not a failure. It is your soul telling you, "This life is not yours. You are betraying me." And if you ignore it for too long, the body screams louder. But the system is always ready with a new dose, a new label, a new sedative. And the more you adapt, the further you move away from yourself, until you feel nothing anymore. Neither pain nor pleasure. Only that chronic numbness they call adult life. By fleeing from suffering, we also flee from the chance to become who we should be. If these themes resonate with you, I invite you to subscribe to the Beyond the Mind channel and leave a like. It's a way to support this journey into the depths. Now let's continue. The root of modern psychological suffering is not only in the mind, but in the environment that shapes us from birth. We live in a society that glorifies appearance, but neglects essence. We are programmed to believe that our identity comes from the outside, from the title we carry, the salary we receive, the approval we obtain. But this is a deadly trap. Because when your value depends on external standards, you distance yourself from your inner nature, from your unconscious, from your soul. It is there that the emptiness begins to grow, slow and silent. You meet all the expectations, but you feel out of place, as if you were living someone else's life. This disconnection, according to Jung, fuels the deepest psychological disorders. But society does not want you to notice, because disconnected people are easier to control. To heal, the individual must confront the world that hurt them. They must understand how they were conditioned, what was repressed and sacrificed in the name of acceptance. It is a painful task, because it involves admitting to having lived a life that was not yours. But it is also the only way out. This journey has a name: individuation. What does it mean to individuate? It is not about small changes in habits. It is a deep process in which the individual ceases to be a reflection of the external world and begins to become what they are in their essence. It is the path to psychic wholeness, which requires confronting everything that has been repressed. Unresolved traumas, suffocated desires, inherited beliefs. But the most challenging step is the encounter with the shadow, that dark, instinctive, and chaotic side that you have learned to hide. The anger you never expressed, the envy you pretend not to feel, the impulses that shame you. Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." And looking inside means facing your own shadow, without masks or excuses. Because the shadow, if ignored, controls you. But if integrated, it becomes a source of power, authenticity, and vital energy. The healing you seek is not in fitting better into the world, but in aligning your inner world with the truth of your being. So why do so many people live far from this journey, anesthetized? The answer lies in the root of modern suffering, the absence of meaning. Much of the psychological malaise stems from a single brutal realization. Life has lost its meaning. And we are not talking about a grand cosmic mission, but about a personal purpose, an alignment between what one does and who one is. You can endure almost any pain if you know why you are living. But without that meaning, even the most intense pleasures become mundane. The unconscious is not just a repository of past traumas. It is a symbolic universe that holds all the parts of us that have been forgotten. That which you do not bring to consciousness, Jung said, returns as fate. You think you have bad luck in love, but you unconsciously repeat the same patterns. You think you are sabotaged at work, but you unconsciously fear success. You are being controlled by old traumas that you have never confronted. But it is precisely in this confrontation that healing resides. The more you integrate your unconscious, the more whole you become. There comes a moment when you have to make a choice, the one that separates who you are from who you were conditioned to be. The one that defines whether you will continue to live an empty, anesthetized life, or if you will finally commit to the most serious promise of all, the commitment to your own soul. The greatest privilege of life is to become who you truly are, but it is also the most avoided path, because it requires abandoning everything that is comfortable, predictable, and superficial. Most people will continue on autopilot, preferring numbness to clarity, rotting in silence. But you do not have to be another statistic. You can choose. Choose to stop wasting your existence. Choose to come out of the anesthesia. Choose to build a life that makes sense. A life that is yours. It will not be easy. It will hurt. It will create confusion. It will require breakups. But it will set you free. And there is nothing more powerful than an awakened soul. Now I ask you, what do you need to let go of to truly start living? What is the lie you are still telling yourself? Write it below in the comments. It doesn't matter if it's a sentence, a confession, or a question. The simple act of writing is already a step out of the numbness. It is already a gesture of presence, of choice, of awakening. Thank you for following this path to the end.